it should be coming up very soon. But yeah, by the end of the round is the report. But Aaron is playing, it's kind of like Naya half hexproof. He has Witch Stalkers. Right. He does not have Glade Cover Scouts, but he has a really spicy sideboard package that makes it more hexproofish. Yeah.
So game one, he seems like a Naya aggro deck, similar to the one that he won the Star City Standard Open with about here in Dallas about a year ago. Mm-hmm. But if you play him, you might notice he has Witch Stalker. And you're like, well, that's peculiar. And then you said the sideboard plan, which we'll get to later. Our match is underway, however. Walker Landry playing mono black. He's going to Thoughtseize, and we see a pretty aggressive curve here. It's going to be Experiment 1, Selesnya Charm, Boon Satyr, Gore-Clan Rampager, and a trio of lands.
Mm-hmm. That would have been the actual perfect curve, 1-drop, 2-drop, 3-drop, 4-drop. But Walker is going to be able to take away any number of those. Whatever step he wants to remove, he can.
Now, interestingly, Aaron actually can't play the Experiment 1 on turn 1 because those two green sources are actual temples.
Oh, those are. Yeah, you're right.
So I'm wondering if he actually still takes like Experiment 1 here, whether maybe it goes for something.
Looks like he still does. Given that actually he has two temples, he's a turn behind no matter what. So sure. It's still a curve, making a play every turn. It's just the turn 1 play is just tap land go.
All right, and we see that tap lane go from Aaron Barich. For the turn, he drew Temple Garden, deciding on the Scry. Right now, it's going to go ahead and go to the bottom. He passes back.
And actually, because that untapped land was on top, he could have curved out even without taking that extra turn.
Yeah, so second Thoughtseize from Walker Landry. You do see there a Blood Crypt. He is virtually mono-black Devotion. He's playing a list slightly off from the Eric Froelich red-black. He has a Dreadbore and a Rakdos' Return in the main, but that's it. Other than that, he's mono-black, at least in the main deck.
Mm-hmm. So with this Thoughtseize, he can remove, he's basically stopping Aaron's curve, just keeping him from getting out on board. Thoughtseize is not at its best against Naya aggro. Aaron has a lot of redundant threats. We just saw Walker took out his 2-drop, Aaron just draws a 2-drop and replaces it.
Right, so a redundant 2-drop, and actually probably an upgraded 2-drop over the Selesnya Charm is Voice of Resurgence on Barich's side.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, we see in Walker, I was going to say, Walker Landry's list is playing no Night Veil Specters. He's gone with a Lifebane Zombie version, which seems like it's pretty good. This is on the third turn, it's the third discard spell he's cast.
Right. Lifebane Zombie has, its stock has slowly been rising over the last couple weeks. I think it is actually very rare at this point to see a Night Veil Specter in the 3-drop in a mono black Devotion main deck over Lifebane Zombie.
Yeah. So once again on curve, you said, Thoughtseize to 1-drop, Thoughtseize to 2-drop, Lifebane Zombie to 3-drop. Being quite the jerk here. But passes back to Aaron.
Yeah, Aaron actually just drawing threats to replace them. This threat is a little different. Actually, he looks like he's not going to deploy it then.
Yeah, he drew a Johnny Caller the Pride. He could have shocked for it with that Temple Garden. He opted instead just to play a Temple of Plenty and Scry to the bottom.
Mm-hmm. There's a possibility that he is trying to set up kind of a one-shot kill here, because when he gets to 5 lands, he can actually play the Ajani, use it to give his... Yeah, use it to give his Voice of Resurgence double strike, and then Blood Rush the Gore-Clan Rampager and just hit for 14 out of nowhere.
Yeah.
It'd be 12. Yeah, it'd be 12.
With one more hit from that from the Voice this turn, and that'll do it. We saw a swing from Lifebane Zombie. No 4th land from Walker Landry. He's going to go ahead and take 2 and go to 12. Mm-hmm. Now, if Aaron's setting up for that, there is a Devour Flesh hanging out in Walker's hand.
Which would, if you use it on Aaron's turn, the Voice triggers and it would take out... Right. It would just give him a token that he could sacrifice. Yeah, Devour Flesh, very bad against Voice of Resurgence.
Now, interestingly, it looks like Landry had a Underworld Connections last turn. He opted to not play it, which I'm interested in him not playing it that turn. He's holding up Devour Flesh, but there is a Voice there.
Yeah, it's possible that he intended to play Devour Flesh, and then as soon as he passed the turn, he's like, oh wait, that's not going to work out the way I want. Witch Stalker came off the top for Aaron, and that actually gives him some insurance here.
All right, so Selesnya Charm exiles the Desecration Demon. He crashes over for 5, dropping Walker Landry down to 7. And yeah, Witch Stalker, that's the peculiar card that's hinting that there's something strange going on with Barich's deck.
Yeah.
Right? I don't generally see Nihilists with Witch Stalker in them, in the main at least.
Well, you see Naya hexproof decks. You see full-blown hexproof creatures and pants decks. But this is a little bit of a twist. And for Walker Landry, this is terrible news, actually. I don't know what his answer to Witch Stalker in his deck is Devour Flesh, and we have this Voice of Resurgence in play that's messing that up.
Yeah, so we see from Landry, he goes ahead and draws a card, then Devour Fleshes. And that'll replace Voice of Resurgence with a elemental token. It's currently a 2/2.
Yeah, Evan Irwin hanging out.
Yeah, and the combo's not there, but he's going to go ahead and attack Blood Rush, and that will give game 1 over to Barich.
Yeah. Aaron, sitting on that Gore-Clan Rampager, really could have won however he wanted.
Yeah. powerful showing on his part. He got like thought seized turn 1, 2, and 3, and he's winning the game by turn 5 through it all.
Sure. Well, Thoughtseize, there's a drawback to that card. Like Walker started at 16, which is not where you want to be against the Gold Clan Rampager deck, for one. And as we said, these Niagara decks, they're very redundant. He took threats, and Aaron drew threats.
Yeah, and we will see. So speaking of threats, we're going to go ahead and go to the sideboard. Earlier in the day, we saw Aaron Barich playing this deck against a Naya Hexproof deck. He actually, this is what I'm going to go to. He has a transformational sideboard where he has the entire, well, most of at least, the Naya Hexproof package in his sideboard. His sideboard is 4 Skylasher, 4 Ethereal Armor, 4 Unflinching Courage, 3 Madcap skills.
Now, I don't expect him to actually bring any of this in this matchup.
Right.
He does not have the Glade Cover Scouts. Right. So he doesn't have an additional hexproof threat. He just has basically all of the pants, all of the enchantments that the Naya Hexproof decks play, and then rather than adding another Hexproof creature, he has 4 Skylatcher, which in the matchup where he wants it, that's basically a Hexproof threat.
Right, mono blue, Sphinx's Revelation.
Mm-hmm. Now in this particular matchup, I did a deck with him earlier. I talked to him about what he thought his good matchups were, what he thought his best matchup was. He loves the Mono Black Devotion matchup. I don't think he anticipates needing help, and I don't think that he will actually change his deck.
So why does he like the Mono Black Devotion matchup? What is, you got a chance to talk to him about it.
It's basically because his threats are resilient. He has Experiment 1, which can regenerate from removal. He has Voice of Resurgence, which stands up against Devour Flesh. Witch Stalker just can't touch.
Sure.
And he's redundant.
Even Fleece mainline can be pretty hard to remove, I suppose. Yeah, so pretty good matchup there. So he just doesn't use any of his sideboard. Obviously, you probably don't want to board in auras against an all-removal spell deck. Going over to Walker's deck, in the sideboard, so he is playing red. The red is just, for on the board, he has Rakdos' Return and Slaughter games, neither of which I really expect to see in this matchup. So he's more or less just a mono-black deck. He has the 4th Life Bane in the board. You have to imagine he'll be boarding that in. But between his other cards, Erebos, Pharika's Cure, Doomblade, I would think Doomblade perhaps comes in the matchup, but I'm not sure what else he wants to board in.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely want Doomblade. It's still not great, awkwardly. You're bringing in Doomblade against a deck with Witch Stalker and Voice of Resurgence.
Right.
But you need it to interact. I certainly expect him to bring in the 2 Doomblades and the one Lifebane zombie. But other than that, Pharika's Cure, I think you kind of have to lean on. Experiment 1 can get out of hand, so I think he basically has to go to Pharika's Cure, even though it's not great. Again, he basically has to hope that his removal lines up correctly with the threats that Aaron presents. Now, in order for that to happen, he has to bring all of his removal.
Right.
But there's no guarantee that it will be the right removal at the right time.
All right. As far as what he boards out, then, how's Pack Rat in this sort of matchup? Like, is he going to have time to do that?
I mean, he probably not. He's in a weird spot. Aaron's deck is full of ways to get over and under Pack Rat. He has 4 Selesnya Charm and 4 Gold Clan Rampager to trample over it. He has some range in the form of Boros Charm to just attack through it and then get to 4.
Sure.
When Walker's on the play, I think he probably can't take the Pack Rats out because we saw Aaron. He has a lot of tap lands. If you can Thoughtseize him off of a curve, you can disrupt him enough that way. If Pack Rat gets loose,
it's still good enough. If you have like the tempo in your Pack Ratting, you're probably fine.
Yeah. There is a possibility, particularly on the draw, that Pack Rat is just too slow, even if you do stick it on turn 2 and start making rats.
Sure.
He doesn't have to worry about that this game.
All right, well, we'll see if he can. So this game's the easier game, at least. On the play, it's important.
Not necessarily an easy game, but this is the easier of the 2 that he's going to have to win to take this match. I would expect him to board out at the very least, all 4 of his Underworld connections before he takes out a Pack Rat.
All right. So on the play, Walker with no turn 1 play. Aaron Barich is the first one with a creature with Experiment 1. And we see Pack Rat from Landry. So as you said, on the play, it might be good enough. Now, Aaron's actually gotten onto the board pretty early here.
He has. And actually, I believe I just saw a Skylasher in his hand. So I was wrong. Aaron did actually board something in. He's basically just bulked up his threats or increased his threat count. He might have just replaced the Madcap skills. He maybe is just trying to make sure he has as many creatures as possible.
All right, and we see that on his turn of Skylasher evolving Experiment 1 and crashing in for 2. And I think this was like the difficulty. So Walker has a turn 2 Pack Rat and a Mutavault. It's like by all means a pretty good Pack Ratting hand. But like, is there still time here? Like, does he just make Pack Rats each turn? I'm not sure he's going to win the race that way.
He probably wouldn't win the race that way, assuming Aaron has anything. Like if he has Rampager. The awkward thing about multiple pack rats is there's kind of a weird domino effect. If you make enough pack rats to block all of your opponent's creatures, and then one of them somehow grows to get over it,
then they all start going.
That kills one pack rat. That means that the other pack rat is smaller after damage, and maybe it dies, and then they all go away.
Sure. Well, on that turn, we saw Walker Landry played a second pack rat and then activated Mutavault so that he hit for 1 additional damage. So I know it's 15-14, still in Barich's favor, but looks like the pack rat plan is on. Barich did not have another play that turn. His white mana came into play tapped, so he wasn't able to fleece main lion.
Yeah. Now, Aaron, he has the threats, but he does not actually have any way to punish Walker for blocking with his pack rats. That's the other piece of the puzzle. And Aaron, he's still just cracking in. You have to do that.
Right.
When you're facing down a turn 2 pack rat, if you ever have to take a turn where you're like, well, I have no good attacks, go, that's not going to end well for you.
So we see with Landry here, he has lands 4 and 5. One's a temple, one's a swamp. I'm guessing his strategy is just to keep pack ratting at this point. He's deciding whether he wants to temple or activate a Mutavault, or activate a Mutavault. Not attack with a Mutavault, but just activate one.
Right. I assume he's probably going to attack with one of the pack rats, maybe both actually. There's not really a position where you can afford to block with them. So I think he's actually just going to try and race.
He's going to go ahead and activate both Mutavaults. So now he has 2, 4. It's a 12 damage swinging.
A lot of damage
That'll
coming
put
in.
Barich down to 3.
Yeah, when you back up your pack rat with 2 Mutavaults, your turn 2 pack rat with 2 Mutavaults, then you get in a position where you can actually just race whatever Aaron's doing. Now, in theory, Aaron could steal the game still with like a Boros Charm, Gorklan Rampager combo. We know he doesn't have that. But Walker at least had to consider the possibility.
Yeah. Now, did you like that attack more than making another pack rat there? It pushed more damage, to be sure, but his board presence is a little bit weaker.
I kind of think I did, actually. Yeah, it doesn't... we didn't finish him out, but we got him in range. We got Aaron down to a life total where if you survived the turn, you were winning.
Yeah, and then you see there, he had Grey Merchant for lethal, taking game 2. He did not have the untapped land. He had to top deck that one to cast the Grey Merchant, but that's still fine. There's not too much life gain out of the 9 aggro.
Sure, the thing is, Grey Merchant locked it up when being able to cast it, but he didn't even need to cast it, really. Once Aaron's at 3, just having pack rat and 2 Mutavaults is enough pressure that...
Yeah, he's swinging with 4/4s. It's going to be real bad.
Yeah, drawing the land gave him the sure thing, playing around combat tricks, things like that. But
sure.
Yeah, I think he was fine there. I like that attack, actually.
Yeah, games are 1-1 now then. Yeah,
they are. They're 1-1, and as we were saying earlier, now Walker has to pull off the same trick on the draw, which is a much scarier place to be.
Yeah, well, we saw there, Aaron had a curve. It actually looked like the mana was what cost Aaron that game a little bit. The fact that on turn 3 he had to just go tap land go as opposed to fleece main lion go really seemed to set him back some.
Yeah, and Aaron talked about that actually. He mentioned that the mana base is it's not perfect naturally. Anytime you're playing an aggro deck with 8 temples, 8 comes into play tap lands and 3 colors in your aggro deck. That's an opportunity for things to go wrong, and that's kind of a risk you take when you're playing this kind of strategy. Against Walker, he can afford to do that because Walker, unless he gets the pack rat draw, can't really put the pressure on him. Mm-hmm. He mentioned that Mono Black Devotion, he said, was one of his best matchups. But Mono Black Aggro,
pretty hard.
Complete with 1-drops, is actually not necessarily even favorable for him.
Which is interesting because normally you'd expect Naya Aggro, which is this slightly slower, slightly bigger aggro deck, to be real good against a deck that's all about making 1 and 2 drops.
Yeah, sort of. Actually, the way Aaron said it, it made perfect sense. He basically just said, well, they're not as fast at me as me, but they're almost as fast, but their mana's better.
Sure.
And that makes sense. I think that he probably would have trouble against mono-colored aggro decks that get to take advantage of Mutavault.
All right, so Mono Blue Devotion, possibly another deck that falls into that camp.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he, going into this tournament, thought Mono Blue was his worst matchup, and that's actually this 15-card sideboard package. Yeah. Bringing in Skylasher and a million pairs of pants to put it on it.
Unflinching Courage Skylasher is pretty good in that matchup, I hear. All right, so on to game 3. Barich with a tap land to start the game, and we'll see what he kept. It's a Thoughtseize from Landry. And this is a bigger hand he's kept for sure.
It is. Actually needs to hit another land in order to cast anything. But once he gets there, those are some fantastic threats in the matchup.
So it's Witchstalker, Boon Satyr on 3. And then on 4 he has Advent. And I would hesitate to even say that Gorklan's probably just going to be Blood Rushed this game, just based on how many other threats he has.
Yeah, most likely.
So
Walker I would guess is going to try and get rid of one of these Witch Stalkers, which he otherwise cannot deal with.
Seems reasonable. Actually, I'm going to guess that Landry has it looks like he has a pretty good hand to pair up against this. In his hand, he has a Duress, a Doomblade, and an Underworld Connections, and a bunch of lands. That's like, that strategy seems to pair up really well with what Barich is doing here.
It does.
The one threat a turn can be pretty weak against.
Yeah, he gets to get rid of the Advent of the Worm, so he doesn't have to worry about that one. He is a turn too slow to Life Bane Zombie away that Witch Stalker. So the Witch Stalker is coming down, it looks like.
Yeah, second Gorkland Rampager drawn for Barich. Yeah, he's going to go ahead and shock and get that Witch Stalker on the board before it can get life baned.
Yeah, Walker has 2 Devour Flesh, is that right? 3 Devour Flesh are his only answers to Witch Stalker.
All right, so Life Bane Zombie here can actually take either Gorkland or Boon Satyr. At this point, it might take a Gorkland Rampage. Originally I said that wasn't going to get cast, but that was before Landry tore apart Barich's hand.
Yeah, I still think I take the Witch Stalker, or sorry, not the Witch Stalker, the Boon Satyr here, just because it's the card that we know Aaron can cast.
Sure, and he agrees. Boon Satyr's taken. Leaves Barich with a pair of Gorkland Rampagers.
Yeah, either of those cards still just a 4-powered creature that you have to trade a card with. So,
right.
And Aaron drew the Boros Charm, which, as I mentioned in game 1, that's the 1-2 punch, and he does have a hexproof creature in play.
Witch Stalker, Boros Charm, Gorkland Rampager.
Yeah.
That'd be what? That'd be 14. That'd be 14.
Mm-hmm. 14, Walker currently at 15. Might go to 14 this turn using an Underworld Connections. And the really rough part for Walker, he just saw Aaron's hand last turn, so he has to feel safe, right? Like,
I would think so. I mean, obviously Landry would probably hope to have a Devour Flash, would feel safer with one, but no, he probably does not feel like he's that close to dying.
Yeah, I guess he does know about the two Rampagers. So if Aaron draws a land, he can Rampager for 8. So Walker kind of knows that he's at virtual 4.
Yeah, I think there's an accident, in case you're wondering why they're shuffling, there was an there's an accidental, like, going to draw, fumbling, accidentally grabbing more than one card. So that's, for those of you wondering, it's, a warning for Walker, Landry, and the resolution is you just shuffle the deck and try again.
Yes, pretty easy fix.
One way to avoid it is when you draw from the deck, you take the card and keep it face down and put it down face down in front of you before looking at it.
Just kind of slide it over.
Slide it over.
In fact, we're probably going to see him do that now. No? Oh, okay.
I got it this time, man.
He's going to do the little finger wiggle when he draws his card. Just make sure there's only one there.
All right, so 4th land. You're right, he does have that Underworld Connections. Draws another one.
Here we go.
Man, if Barich has that untapped land,
swinging first.
That's so good.
He might wait at least just to see what happens, but yeah, in this case, 14 is so much lower than 15.
Well, you don't want to stay back and block here because you know about Gorkland Rampagers. That's not going to do anything.
Yeah, blocking does nothing. I can't imagine he's going to leave it on defense. It looks like he is.
He is, okay.
So he wants to draw out okay, there he goes.
Here we go.
Does he block? Does he block?
And this is where this deck's fun.
Yeah. Now again, he did not activate he played the Underworld Connection. He did not activate it, so.
All right, boom, 1-2 punch. All right, so it's a 7/7 trample double strike. That's going to trample over for 13. Put Landry down to 2.
Yep.
I tap Underworld here. I go to 1.
I mean, well, you have to find Devour Flesh.
Right,
so
that's what I mean.
Yeah, no, since you're at, and I said 14 so much lower than 15. 2 so much higher than 1 now, too. And that's an extra card to find the Devour Flesh, which is his only out here.
This is where this Hexproof deck has so much game. Okay, think about Walker's hand for a second. So he had a Thoughtseize into a Live Duress into a Life Bane, and then he has a Connections in play with 2 Doomblades. Like, against a regular aggro deck, this would be the nuts right now. It's all kill spells and an Underworld Connection. Like, sign me up for that.
Yeah, if he had an opportunity to cast those Doomblades, this game pretty much unlosable.
Right.
But as it happened, the threat that Aaron actually stuck was Witch Stalker. And to be fair, Walker saw 2 Witch Stalkers. He got rid of 1.
He did what he could, dude. Yeah.
And now he's trying to decide whether he can afford to activate this Underworld Connections.
Well, I think he does. I mean,
yeah, I agree. We can see Aaron's deck. We know that there's no situation in which Aaron can attack for 1 but not 2.
Aaron,
I guess, he could draw Experiment 1.
Landry has perfect information right now. He knows the last card in Barich's hand is another Gorkland, so he knows he's facing down a 7/7 trample hexproof. So even a card like Grey Merchant, well, Grey Merchant would keep him alive, but it would bring him up to 5, block for 4. Yeah, Grey Merchant buys him another turn.
Grey Merchant brings him up to 6. Because he has Underworld Connections.
Well, yeah, even if he taps
he goes to 1. Yeah, sorry,
he goes to 1. Okay. So draws a single card. Yes, he needs to find a Grey Merchant or a Devour Flesh here.
Does not.
Not on try number 1. Does he
What
get
we
it on
got?
try
What
2?
we got?
Pack Rat.
Oh, that won't do.
Doomblade, Pack Rat, Underworld Connections land. I do not think he's going to be able to stop that Witch Stalker. Now, what if you just like slam the card, like just represent that Devour Flesh real
About
good?
all he can do. That looks to be
Yeah.
what he's doing too.
Now, but he waited too long. He's not selling the bluff.
I mean,
I think Aaron's going to call him anyway, to be fair.
100% Aaron. What else can Aaron do here? I mean, depending on what he draws, he can further insulate himself somehow. But Aaron, I think he understands the situation here. And every draw step he gives Walker is another opportunity for him to find one of his very few outs.
You just have to confidently chump block here. Be like, all right, block with Pack Rat. And he goes for it, discards. No, he's just going to eat it. He's not going to discard the Gore Clan.
No.
He's giving him more time. I mean,
I know.
it's only 1 draw. It's not 2.
No, well, sure, but he's just going to play it. Okay.
Oh, that's so much worse.
It's not so much worse because it's still good enough, but
It's going to get Doombladed.
that is true.
Sure. Yeah, Witch
I mean,
Stalker's
well,
bigger, whatever.
He's playing around Devour Flesh, so basically he's just saying, well, I given 1 turn, I can afford to play around Devour Flesh, but I don't
I mean,
agree
can
with
he
that.
actually play around Devour Flesh? Like, is that actually a thing? Like, if Landry has the Devour Flesh, isn't Barich just like kind of in trouble?
Yes, actually, he very much is.
He's gonna get it anyway here. No, another land for Landry. So Barich takes the game 2-1.
Yeah, that worked. And Aaron actually, he's kind of saying, like, all right, well, I didn't think I would ever be sweating that one, but that last turn I was sweating it. You can kind of see it in his face.
I mean, sometimes when you're so close to winning, you get this. You can get in this mentality where like you start playing around stuff that's not there.
Yeah.